The other day, I was in a store when I heard something shocking. Christmas music. I know. There we were, going about our ordinary early November business when the radio began blasting some holly jolly jingle 7 weeks early. The cashier stopped in her tracks and said, "No, I can't do this. I'm gonna hate this stuff by December if we play it now." And I get it. I also want to tell the manager of every store with the November Christmas soundtrack, hold your reindeer, people. Can we at least have Thanksgiving first? I am still enjoying my fall decor of gourds and leaves. Thank you very much. But I also understand the need to play the Christmas music. I mean, for most stores, it's about commerce. Every store wants to be first to remind us to start spending money on gifts before we can do so elsewhere. But there are other reasons to start early. As someone who puts on a big community Christmas concert every year, I personally have been singing Christmas music with both choirs, adults and children, since September, because it does take us 3 months to learn all the music we'll be singing. And somehow it never really bothers me to sing the Christmas music, the sacred stuff, early, because the original gift of Christmas, Jesus, is the gift we need 12 months out of the year. And I'm not talking about the baby Jesus, as much as we all love a cute little baby. I'm talking about the reason Jesus came, the reason we call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. In fact, I just taught my kids' choir the ASL sign for God with us. I want them to know it in their bodies. People need to know that God is with us, not somewhere far away, not comfortably seated on a pillowy cloud, not wandering the streets paved with gold or admiring those beautiful pearly gates. People need to know that God is with us right here where we are, especially when we are not in the mood to be festive. And that was most definitely the mood when Jesus came. He arrived right in the middle of an economic crisis, when the poor were losing what little ground they had, becoming poorer by the day, due to increasing demands by the bloated Roman Empire, which would never be satisfied. They wanted more land, more resources extracted from that land, and more taxes. The gap between the haves and the have-nots was growing, with more in the have-not category. Where on earth was God in all of this, people wondered? Had they been abandoned? One more peasant child born to homeless refugees in Bethlehem certainly did not give people the instant relief that we might imagine. If there was an angel choir singing Handel's Messiah, few people heard it, just a handful of shepherds, and who would believe them anyway? A baby born to a teenage girl did not immediately change much in the daily lives of his people. But 30 years later, we meet Jesus, the full-grown model, living into his calling to be Emmanuel, God with us. Where did God with us hang out, you might wonder? On top of the highest mountain? Not often. In the great temple? Rarely. Mostly, God with us spent his time with us, with the people where they were. He wanted to experience life with the people so he could know the people, love the people, and teach the people. And what was Jesus' most famous teaching? If you guessed Sermon on the Mount, you are correct, as long as we're talking about Jesus presented in Matthew's Gospel. Matthew's wonderful, and I like the Sermon on the Mount very much. But this year, we're spending most of our time reading Luke's Gospel. And while Matthew and Luke have much in common, there are some differences. Like Jesus' most famous sermon. In Luke's Gospel, Jesus doesn't preach it from the top of the mountain. Instead, he comes down the mountain so he can stand on the plain, the level part where all the people were. God with us. So let's hear a bit of the Sermon on the Plain, shall we? Here it is from Luke 6, verses 17 through 26, I'll be reading. He came down with them and stood on a level place with a great crowd of his disciples and a great multitude of people from all Judea, Jerusalem, and the coast of Tyre and Sidon. They had come to hear him and to be healed of their diseases, and those who were troubled with unclean spirits were cured, and all in the crowd were trying to touch him, for power came out from him and healed all of them. Then he looked up at his disciples and said, "Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who are hungry now, for you will be filled. Blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh. Blessed are you when people hate you and when they exclude you, revile you, and defame you on account of the Son of Man. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy, for surely your reward is great in heaven, for that is what their ancestors did to the prophets. But woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. Woe to you who are full now, for you will be hungry. Woe to you who are laughing now, for you will mourn and weep. Woe to you when all speak well of you, for that is what their ancestors did to the false prophets." There is more, of course, but I'll stop there because there's only so much good news we can handle at a time, right? Good news for some, not such good news for others. Woe to the rich, woe to those who have eaten enough, woe to those who feel enough joy to laugh. Well, I'm thinking, woe is me, because I ate my fill today, and I think I cracked a smile once. And while I wouldn't call myself rich, compared to most humans on this planet, I most definitely am, and probably so are you. The good news apparently is only for those who are desperately poor, perilously hungry, and unconsolably weeping. They are blessed. Seriously? Was Jesus high? No, he was low, remember? He'd come down off the mountain to stand in the midst of the sick and the hungry and the miserable to tell them, "You are blessed." I would like to see someone try preaching that sermon in a refugee camp in Gaza, or in a hospital full of children designated WCNSF, which, if you don't know, means Wounded Child No Surviving Family. I wonder how those words would land in Jamaica after the devastation of Melissa. I would be curious to hear the response to such a sermon if it were given to the people still waiting in line at the food bank after the last bag was given out. "Blessed are you," said God with us. Now, some people like to spiritualize this teaching. Sounds like this: "Oh, it's no big deal to be hungry and miserable now as long as you have hope of joy in heaven." But somehow I do not think that Jesus, whose greatest joy seemed to be inviting people to eat and drink with him, really meant for anyone to think that it is okay to starve your way through life. Regardless of the joys that may await us on the other side, Jesus' concern was always, let's see who needs to eat and let's feed them. "Do you love me?" he asked his closest disciple, Peter. "If you love me, feed my sheep." This is not spiritual. It is about meeting the physical needs of the hungry. And how are the hungry blessed? Collectively. "Blessed are you" is said using the plural form of you, like y'all. Blessed are y'all, because if y'all are hanging out in a group and if y'all happen to notice that some are hungry, what are y'all going to do? I'm guessing y'all are going to share your lunch, which did tend to happen whenever Jesus gathered a group of people for outdoor preaching. It usually turned into a big old potluck where everyone was blessed, even if their cupboards at home were bare. Blessing for everyone, when God with us reminded people that blessing happens collectively. It looks like this: y'all take care of the poor, y'all feed the hungry, y'all comfort the weeping, and y'all shall be blessed, all y'all, those who gave as well as those who received. Now, on the contrary, woe to y'all who are rich and full and laughing your way to the bank, as long as there are poor, hungry, and miserable people in your midst. No one is blessed until everyone is blessed. And if some in the community are living with woes, then shame on all of us for permitting it to happen. I didn't make this up, friends. This is the teaching of Jesus, God with us. And thanks be to God, this teaching lives even in troubled times and troubling places. Father Gregory Boyle has written beautiful memoirs of his 40 years working with gang members to create a healing community of belonging where every person feels cherished and no one weeps alone. In Cherished Belonging, Father Greg describes their community as a place where they are constantly reminded of their inter-abiding, mutual indwelling, profound kinship with each other. More simply put, he says there are no good people or bad people, only God's people. Cherishing is what the world is trying to be. Trying, but it seems very often failing. I was talking with a parent of a little girl who was being bullied at school by girls from wealthier families, and at first it was passive, things like, you have to invite me to your birthday party, but I won't come. That's mean, right? But then it got cruel. You don't wear a cross around your neck like we do, and you're poor. God hates you. And if your heart just broke for the little girl who received that message, may it also break for the little girls who delivered it, and for their families and possibly their faith communities who have filled their little minds with such heresy. Woe, 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 woe to us all if this is the flavor of Christian identity for anyone in our midst, and woe to us all if we do nothing to correct this. So what can we do? Well, we can start like Jesus did by conferring blessing, not with words, but with met needs. Is there poverty in the world? Then let us address it as best we can. We've got a local food pantry ramping up to meet an increased need this winter, and there are numerous nonprofits doing all manner of good all over the world, from disaster relief to refugee care. I personally like to give to UMCOR, United Methodist Committee on Relief, because every penny of every dollar goes directly to the cause you pick. Whether we have just a few bucks or big bucks, the idea is to share the blessing. And I do have hope that the idea might just be catching on. Did you hear in a recent awards acceptance speech, Billie Eilish, addressing a room of wealthy celebrities, encouraged those with money to use it to help those in need? And she asked, if you are a billionaire, why are you a billionaire? No hate, but give your money away. And then she gave away $11.5 million to address climate change and food insecurity. Blessing. As for the non-material ways we can offer blessing, do you know someone who is lonely, maybe even grieving? This time of year, grief hits hard, even grief we think we have gotten over. Notice who might be hurting and be a friend. No one should grieve alone. Even a phone call can brighten someone's day more than you realize. Be the comfort for someone who is mourning. Bless them. We also have a new generation of children needing to hear the true gospel of Jesus Christ, the good news that when we show up for one another, we invoke the presence of Christ, meaning God is still with us. Let us commit to teaching the little ones this lesson through our words and our deeds. All of this is mission critical, perhaps now more than ever. Because, my friends, if blessing is hoarded and withheld, then woe to us all. But when blessing is shared, all of us are blessed. Father Greg says it like this: we are wrapped in some kind of unifying cloak that joins us to each other and to the stranger. We find our point of connection as members of the human family. We discover the sanctity of interconnectedness. This is the deathless presence of Jesus. The deathless presence of Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us. Why did Jesus come? To teach us the good news of God's blessing for all. This song may not be on your Christmas playlist, but it could be. Why did he come? He came down that we may have love. He came down that we may have love. He came down that we may have love. Hallelujah, forevermore. Blessings, y'all.